This is not a drill. Stop whatever you're doing right now. You are not going to believe what just went down. Cleveland just erupted on live TV. Kevin Stefanski completely lost it when Mary Kay Cat, you heard me Mary Kay, demanded that Shedeur Sanders replace Dillon Gabriel right now. The pure, unadulterated, red-faced rage on Stefanski's face when she asked that question. It said it all, fam. Pure nuclear meltdown rage. And wait till you hear the line Mary Kay drops. This wasn't a question. This was a statement. This was a slick surgical jab that didn't just rattle Stefanski. It had the entire Browns locker room buzzing all night, and it's going to be the headline for the next 6 weeks. She threw a slick jab at him, saying he could not get the job done. You won't get the job done. Throwing little checkdowns here and there, that will not get it done. It worked today against the Minnesota Vikings, but defenses make adjustments. They will start noticing they have to use little rollouts to get that Dillon Gabriel vision downfield being able to see. Dillon Gabriel cannot just sit in the pocket and make reads. If you are a defensive coordinator, you cloud the outside and make him throw. That's where he will struggle. That's just my personal opinion. I'm telling you, this is the moment. This is the inflection point where the entire Cleveland Browns season pivots. And it's all because the media, led by Mary Kay, finally said the quiet part out loud. We are done with Dillon Gabriel. Let's look at the evidence, because this isn't some random hot take from an internet guy. This is the reality of what happened in that 21-17 embarrassment against the Minnesota Vikings. The Browns just got embarrassed 21-17 by Minnesota, right? And I'm not even talking about the final score. I'm talking about how they lost. They had the game in their hands, multiple chances to put it away. And Dillon Gabriel, man, listen, the kid looked like he was playing scared. He looked like he was throwing passes with a governor on his arm. He looked like he was actively trying not to lose the game instead of trying to win it. And that, right there, is the difference between a game manager and a franchise quarterback. And that's exactly why Mary Kay went for the jugular in the post-game press conference. Preseason, Gabriel was very good at converting third downs. Yesterday, you were 3 of 15. What do you attribute that to? 3 of 15. Bro, stop. 3 for 15. Let that number sink in for a second. That's a 20% conversion rate on the most critical down in football. That's not just bad. That is a catastrophic failure of execution. And the question is pointed, direct, and factual. What do you attribute that to? And Stefanski's answer, oh, you know he had to defend his guy. You know he had the talking points preloaded. But even in his defense, you can hear the strain, the frustration, the thin veneer of a coach trying to protect a struggling rookie. Yeah, I think each one, you can probably talk through Tony, and it's a combination of things, but I thought by and large he was getting through progressions. There's things that I know he can do better that were all that he knew when he was walking off the field. So he's got very good self-awareness in those type of things, but that was a very good pass defense that we were facing, both from a coverage and a pass rush standpoint. So I thought he did a good job of taking care of the football, moving in the pocket when he needed to. But bottom line is you have to try to find a way to stay on the field, and a lot of times it's your ability to be efficient on first and second down and put you in some manageable third downs that will allow that. Self-awareness? Are you kidding me? We're talking about a quarterback who went 3 for 15 on third down, and the best thing the head coach can say is he has very good self-awareness. No, sir. That's the definition of a coach dodging the problem. He tried to spin it back to first and second down efficiency, but we all watched the game. It was the refusal to challenge the defense downfield that led to those brutal third and long situations. It was the incessant checkdowns that Mary Kay called out. It was the 5-yard routes on 3rd and 7. Dillon Gabriel was playing scared, and the Vikings defense literally dared him to beat them deep, and he couldn't do it. He would not, or he could not, push the ball past 10 yards. It was a clinic in cautious, conservative, losing football. And that's why the pressure on Stefanski is mounting. And it's not just about the stats. It's about the philosophy. All right. And this last one falls into the K-Day. Cleveland just erupted on live TV. Kevin Stefanski completely lost it when Mary Kay Cat demanded that Shedeur Sanders replace Dillon Gabriel right now. Stefanski's face said it all. Pure rage. And wait till you hear the line Mary Kay drops. That had the Browns locker room buzzing all night. Then comes the dagger. The final 3.5 and out that sealed the loss. The drive where you, the coach, the supposed offensive guru, are supposed to draw up something genius, something aggressive, something to win the game. And what did we get? Check down, incomplete, sack, punt, game over. The definition of a whimper. The reporter goes right after the coaching strategy on that final crucial drive. Yeah, Kevin, I wanted to ask about your guys' second to last drive, the 3 and out. Just given the way the Vikings were stacking the box against you guys, watching that back, I guess. What did you think of how you guys handled that? And here's Stefanski's deflection, the classic coach speak that drives fans insane because it sounds like a textbook answer, but it offers no real accountability. It's all philosophy and no admission of error. Yeah, obviously Ashley getting to 4-minute drives, and the goal there is to stay on the field, get first downs, make the clock roll, and finish the game with the ball. Obviously going 3 and out doesn't get it done. And when you look at that as a coach, you always immediately and also now think about different things that you can do. There's ton of philosophies there, and what you're trying to do, who you're trying to play through, if you want to have risk involved, and potentially use the quarterback there. So there's all sorts of things that we can do in that situation. And anytime you come up short, you always think about putting your players in position to succeed. So frustrating to not gain yards on that first and second down calls, and then frustrated obviously to come away with an incompletion on third down. But we'll teach off of it. We'll learn from it. We'll teach off of it. We'll learn from it. That's the mantra of a team that's settling for mediocrity, bro. That's the language of a coach who's protecting his job, not a coach who's trying to win a championship. They were facing a stacked box because the Vikings knew Dillon Gabriel couldn't beat them over the top. The Vikings dared you to throw the ball past the sticks, and your play calling and your quarterback both said, "No thanks, we'll punt." That's the issue. It's not just a loss, it's a fundamental failure to adapt to the opponent's game plan because your quarterback has a glaring exploitable weakness. And then I wanted to ask about David. So the Browns just got embarrassed 21-17 by Minnesota, right? And I'm not even talking about the final score. I'm talking about how they lost. They had the game in their hands, multiple chances to put it away. And Dillon Gabriel, man, listen, the kid looked like he was playing scared. And then the second half of the question that really gets to the heart of the matter, the question about the vertical passing game, the question that implies, hey coach, your quarterback is too scared to throw deep. Are you going to fix that, or are we just going to keep doing this? The question that points directly at the lack of targets for your supposed number one receiver, Jerry Jeudy. And then secondly, did Dillon Gabriel show you enough that maybe he even started throwing downfield more to Jerry Jeudy and the other wide receivers? This is where Stefanski completely dodges the question. He brings up faith, he brings up confidence, he brings up every generic talking point in the book except for the specifics of his quarterback failing to throw downfield to his best receivers. Yeah, it's always a product of the game you're in. Jeff, I would tell you, we have a lot of faith in Dillon and our pass receivers, whether that's from the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs, you name it. We have a lot of confidence in our guys. So it's just very dependent on the team you're facing and what they're doing in the back end. It's always a product of the game you're in. You know what that means? It means I'm not going to admit that my quarterback's physical limitations are the reason he can't make those throws. It means I'm going to blame the Vikings for playing good defense. Newsflash, coach, good teams beat good defense. Elite quarterbacks make the throws regardless. Shedeur Sanders has been making those throws his entire career. Dillon Gabriel is physically, fundamentally unable to consistently see and attack over the middle of the field and down the boundaries because of his stature and his over-reliance on rolling out. That is the core truth Stefanski is trying to bury under a mountain of coach speak. Thank you. We played well, not well enough to keep Sanders see away jokes here and there. Dillon Gabriel as a quarterback, I do hope we see more of him. They failed 21-7, as you guys can see as we keep scrolling. Just showing you guys some of the comments. Can Dillon Gabriel throw more than 5-10 yards? I agree with him 100%. That's all I saw. A lot of checkdowns rolling outside the pocket because he can't see in the pocket. Defenses are going to make adjustments because they're going to notice that. Third down after third down, he's checking it down to running backs, throwing 5 YD routes, refusing to attack downfield. The Vikings defense literally dared him to beat them deep, and he couldn't do it. Now, here's where this gets interesting. Kevin Stefanski rolls into his post-game presser, and you can feel the tension in that room. Reporters are circling like sharks, and they know exactly what question is on everyone's mind. Not what went wrong with the defense. Not what happened with timeout management. Nah, the real question burning through Cleveland right now is why isn't Shedeur Sanders playing? And Mary Kay Cabot, she didn't hold back. She dropped that line that's now echoing through every Browns fan forum, every Twitter thread, every sports bar in Ohio. Dillon Gabriel was unable to finish the job. That's not just reporting, fam. That's a statement. That's her way of saying what everyone's thinking. This ain't it. This is not the answer. This is a placeholder that is actively costing you games. And the look on Stefanski's face when she said that line. That's the rage. That's the moment he realizes the media narrative is shifting, that his control is slipping, and that the fan base has picked their guy. But let's rewind for a second because you need to understand the full context of this disaster. Dillon Gabriel came into this game with something to prove. This was supposed to be his I belong in the NFL moment. Instead, what did we get? 3 completions on 15 third down attempts. 3 for 15. You know how bad that is? That's a 20% conversion rate on the most critical downs of the game. That's not just struggling. That's drowning out there. And Stefanski, to his credit, tried to defend his guy. When reporters asked him about the third down nightmare, he gave this whole speech about progressions and facing a very good pass defense and how Dillon showed good self-awareness. Bro, I almost threw my remote at the TV. Good self-awareness? The kid couldn't convert a third down to save his life. And we're talking about self-awareness. Here's what Stefanski actually said, and I quote, "He was getting through progressions. There's things that I know he can do better that were all that he knew when he was walking off the field. But it was a very good pass defense that we were facing both from a coverage and a pass rush standpoint." Okay, cool. So we're blaming the Vikings defense. Now, let me tell you something. Shedeur Sanders just spent an entire college season shredding defenses that were designed specifically to stop him. Colorado didn't have an offensive line. They didn't have a running game. Defenses knew Shedeur was the entire offense, and he still put up numbers. He still made plays. He still found a way to win games and make throws that only elite quarterbacks can make. But Dillon Gabriel can't handle a little pressure from Minnesota's front 7. That's the difference right there. One guy thrives under pressure. The other one retreats to the check down. And this is where the Mary Kay angle becomes absolutely crucial to understand. See, Mary Kay isn't just some random reporter throwing shade. She's been covering the Browns for years. She's seen every quarterback controversy, every coaching disaster, every front office mess up. She has the pulse of this city. And when she says Dillon couldn't finish the job, she's speaking for an entire fan base that's tired of watching mediocre quarterback play. She's channeling the frustration of decades of false hope. She's giving voice to the collective groan that went up in every bar, every living room, every sportsbook in Ohio when Gabriel checked down that final time. The fans are fed up, man. I'm scrolling through Twitter after this game, and it's a bloodbath. One fan writes, "Dillon Gabriel is terrible. Shedeur Sanders, best quarterback on the roster, is not even close." Another one says, "Can Dillon Gabriel throw more than 5 to 10 yards? And here's my personal favorite. At least Dillon Gabriel played well, not well enough to keep Sanders on the bench though." These aren't casual fans, bro. These are people who've invested their emotions into this team, who've watched years of quarterback purgatory, who finally have a potential franchise quarterback sitting on their bench, and they can't understand why he's not playing. But here's where it gets even more interesting. During the game, they showed Shedeur Sanders on the sideline overseas. Yeah, the Browns played in London, and Tony Grossi, another Browns insider, made this comment about how they don't know who the starting quarterback is. And the way he said it, man, it felt like shade. It felt like even the media members who are paid to cover this team objectively are getting frustrated with Stefanski's decision-making. They see what we see. They know what's coming. They are all positioning themselves for the inevitable switch, and Mary Kay simply made the first public declaration of war. Now, let's talk about what Dillon actually did in this game, because the stats tell a story that Stefanski doesn't want to admit. Wide receivers, 5 catches total, 5. You have Jerry Jeudy, a guy you traded for, a premium talent, and he gets 5 total catches among the entire wide receiver group. Meanwhile, tight ends are getting 10 catches because Dillon's so uncomfortable in the pocket, he's just dumping it off to whoever's closest. David Njoku is a beast. I love him, but when your tight end is dominating the target share because your quarterback can't hit a downfield route, that's a problem. Jerry Jeudy, who's supposed to be their #1 receiver, is getting ignored. And when reporters asked Stefanski about it, he gave this generic answer about it being game-specific. One reporter straight up asked, "Did Dillon Gabriel show you enough that maybe he should start throwing downfield more to Jerry Jeudy and the other wide receivers?" And Stefanski's response, "It's always a product of the game you're in. We have a lot of faith in Dillon and our pass receivers." That's not an answer, bro. That's a dodge. That's coach speak for, I don't want to admit my quarterback is limited. And here's the thing that's driving Browns fans crazy. They saw what Shedeur can do. They watched him at Colorado. They watched him dissect defenses, throw receivers open, make NFL caliber throws in college. They know what they have sitting on that bench. So when they watch Dillon Gabriel checking down on 3rd and 7, when they watch him refuse to challenge a defense vertically, when they watch him go 3 for 15 on the most important downs, they're not just frustrated, they're angry, because this isn't about giving a rookie time to develop. This isn't about being patient with a young quarterback. This is about watching an inferior player get opportunities that should be going to someone better. And when Mary Kay calls it out, when she says Dillon couldn't finish the job, she's giving voice to what everyone already knows. Let me break down the final drive for you, because this is where everything fell apart. Browns are down, they need a touchdown to win. Dillon gets the ball with a chance to be a hero. And what happens? Check down, incomplete. 3 and out, game over, Vikings win. Stefanski tried to defend the play, calling in his presser, talking about risk, reward, and different philosophies, and all this technical stuff. But at the end of the day, his quarterback couldn't execute when it mattered most. And that's the bottom line. He had the ball in his hands with a chance to be the hero, to silence the critics, and he folded, period. The inability to execute on that final drive is the direct, damning evidence that Mary Kay was right. Now, here's where the shatter angle becomes really interesting, and why I'm telling you this might be the beginning of something bigger. See, Kevin Stefanski is feeling the heat. You can tell in these press conferences when reporters ask him about timeout management, about play calling, about quarterback decisions. He's getting defensive. He's using a lot of words to say very little. He's protecting his guys, which is what coaches do, but he's also avoiding the elephant in the room, that elephant. Shedeur Sanders is ready. He's been ready, and everyone except Kevin Stefanski seems to know it. Think about it from a pure football perspective. Dillon Gabriel's biggest weakness? He can't see over the offensive line. He's short. He has to roll out of the pocket constantly just to get a throwing lane. Defenses are already figuring this out. One fan on Twitter nailed it. Dillon Gabriel cannot just sit in the pocket and make reads. If you are a defensive coordinator, you cloud the outside and make him throw. That's where he will struggle. You know who doesn't have that problem? Shedeur Sanders. The man's got the size, the arm talent, the football IQ, and most importantly, the confidence. He's been groomed by Deion Sanders his entire life to be an NFL quarterback. He's played in hostile environments, handled media pressure, dealt with insane expectations. Dillon Gabriel played at Oklahoma and Oregon. Shedeur played under a microscope at Colorado with the entire sports world watching his every move. That's a different level of pressure, a different kind of preparation. And that is what is missing from Dillon Gabriel's game right now. That mental fortitude, that confidence to stand tall in the pocket with bodies collapsing around you and still deliver a strike 20 yards downfield. Shedeur has that killer instinct. Dillon has the check down instinct. And this is where I'm going to be real with you, because my audience knows I keep it 100 about Shedeur. The hate he gets is unreal. People talk about his dad, talk about the hype, talk about whether he's really that good or just a product of prime time. But you know what? The kid can play, period. And Browns fans are starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, they've got a future star sitting on their bench while they're wasting games with a quarterback who maxes out at checkdowns. Mary Kay's comments hit different because she's not just some hot take artist. She's connected. She knows what's happening inside that building. And when she says Dillon couldn't get the job done, you better believe she's hearing rumblings from inside the organization. Maybe from coaches, maybe from players, maybe from front office people who are wondering the same thing everyone else is. Why are we doing this? The Vikings game wasn't just a loss, it was a statement. It was proof that Dillon Gabriel, despite all the talk about his progression and his self-awareness and his preparation, cannot win you games when it matters. He had multiple chances. He had a defense that kept them in it. He had weapons, Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Quinn, Sean Judkins, and he couldn't deliver. Meanwhile, Shedeur's watching from the sideline, probably thinking the same thing every Browns fan is thinking. I could do better than this. And you know what? He probably could. So now we're at the crossroads, right? Kevin Stefanski is sitting in that press conference deflecting questions, protecting his quarterback, doing all the things coaches are supposed to do. But behind closed doors, man, those conversations are getting heated. The front office is looking at ticket sales, looking at social media engagement, looking at the national narrative, and they're seeing one name trending over and over, Shedeur Sanders. Let me tell you why this situation is about to explode and why the Browns might not have a choice much longer. First off, the schedule doesn't get easier. They just lost to the Vikings in London, and now they've got to face teams that are going to game plan exactly like Minnesota did. You think defensive coordinators around the league didn't watch that film? You think they didn't see how Dillon Gabriel crumbles when you take away his rollouts? When you force him to sit in the pocket and make tight window throws? The blueprint is out there now. Stack the box against the run. Take away the easy stuff. Make Dillon beat you vertically. And guess what? He can't do it. At least not consistently enough to win games in this league. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that has me convinced change is coming sooner than later. Kevin Stefanski's job security isn't what it used to be. This man has been on the hot seat before. Browns fans have patience for losses, but they don't have patience for stubborn losses. They don't have patience for watching a better option sit on the bench while games slip away. And Stefanski knows this. You can hear it in how he answers questions. When reporters pressed him about whether he has too many voices in his headset during critical moments, he got defensive. When they asked about timeout management, something he screwed up at the end of the Vikings game, he gave this long-winded non-answer about putting the team in a good spot. Bro, you didn't put the team in a good spot. You let 15 seconds run off the clock before calling timeout. You gave Minnesota extra time to scheme up that game-winning drive, and your quarterback couldn't bail you out when you needed him most. Now, let's talk about what's happening behind the scenes, because this is where the Shedeur Sanders angle becomes absolutely critical. See, when the Browns drafted Dillon Gabriel, it wasn't because they thought he was a franchise quarterback. It was a mid-round pick, a let's-see-what-happens situation. But Shedeur was a statement. That was a first-round investment. That was them saying, this is our future. That was them putting their stamp on a potential star. And right now, that future is sitting on the bench watching a game manager lose games. The fans see it, the media sees it, and I guarantee you people inside that building see it too. There's no way veteran players in that locker room are watching Dillon go 3 for 15 on third downs and thinking, yeah, this is our best option. No way Jerry Jeudy is happy catching 5 balls while tight ends eat up all the targets. No way that defense wants to go out there and play their hearts out only to watch the offense sputter when it matters. This is how quarterback controversies start, man. It's not always the coaches making the decision. Sometimes the locker room forces the decision. Sometimes the media pressure becomes too much. Sometimes the fan backlash gets so loud that ownership steps in and makes the call. And Mary Kay's comments, that's the spark that could light the whole thing on fire. She is connected to the ownership, she has the ear of the front office, and when she publicly calls for the head of the starting quarterback, that is a direct message to the people who pay the bills. Think about the timing of it. She didn't wait a few days. She didn't soften the blow. She came out immediately after the game and said Dillon couldn't finish the job. That's intentional. That's her reading the room and knowing that Browns fans are done with excuses. They want to see Shedeur. They want to see what they invested in. They want to see if this kid can actually be the answer to decades of quarterback mediocrity. Now, I want to take a second here and address something because I know there are Dillon Gabriel defenders out there. And look, I get it. The kid's in a tough spot. He's a rookie thrown into a starting role on a team with expectations. He's playing behind an offensive line that's had injuries. He's got a coach who's clearly not giving him the full playbook yet. But here's the thing, Shedeur would be dealing with the same circumstances, actually worse circumstances, because the pressure and scrutiny on him would be 10 times higher. Every throw would be analyzed. Every mistake would be magnified. Every incompletion would have people saying, see, he's overrated. He's just Deion's son. And you know what? I think he'd handle it better than Dillon is right now. Because Shedeur's been under that microscope his entire life. He's used to the noise. He's used to people doubting him. He's used to having to prove himself over and over again. Dillon Gabriel's biggest test in college was what? Winning the Pac-12. Playing in front of 50,000 fans in Eugene. That's cute. Shedeur played at Colorado with the entire sports world watching, with ESPN cameras at every practice, with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith debating his every throw on national television, with his dad's legacy on the line every single Saturday. That's pressure. That's what prepares you for the NFL spotlight. That level of intense, suffocating focus. And that's the biggest difference between the two. One quarterback knows how to manage a game, the other knows how to manage a national spectacle and still perform at an elite level. And this is why I genuinely believe, and I'm being real with you here, that the Browns are making a mistake by not starting Shedeur right now. Not because Dillon is terrible, not because Shedeur is guaranteed to be a superstar, but because if you're going to lose games anyway, you might as well lose them while developing your actual future. What's the point of watching Dillon go 3 for 15 on third downs? What are you learning? That he's limited? We already knew that he needs perfect circumstances to succeed. We could have guessed that he's not the long-term answer. Anyone with eyes could see that. But Shedeur? We don't know his ceiling yet. We don't know how good he can be. And the only way to find out is to let him play. Let him take his lumps. Let him grow. Let him show you whether he's the real deal or not. Because here's the truth that Kevin Stefanski doesn't want to admit. This season's probably cooked anyway. They just lost to the Vikings. They're going to struggle to make the playoffs. So what are you saving Dillon Gabriel for? Why are you protecting him? Why are you delaying the inevitable? The fans know it. Mary Kay knows it. Social media knows it. Shedeur Sanders needs to play, period. And when he does, not if, but when, this whole narrative is going to flip, because either he's going to ball out and make everyone look stupid for waiting this long, or he's going to struggle and at least we'll have our answer. But this limbo, this let's keep pretending Dillon is the guy situation, it's not helping anyone. It's destroying the morale of the team and the city. It's wasting the prime years of guys like Myles Garrett and David Njoku. It's a failure of coaching philosophy, plain and simple. Kevin Stefanski stood at that podium and talked about progressions and game-specific plans and trusting the process. But you know what? Browns fans heard excuses. They heard a coach who's too stubborn to admit he made the wrong call. They heard someone who's more worried about protecting his ego than doing what's best for the team. And that's dangerous territory for a coach on the hot seat. Dangerous territory for a coach on the hot seat. He's choosing self-preservation over the future of the franchise, and that is a cardinal sin in the NFL. Look, at the end of the day, this story is far from over. Dillon Gabriel is going to get more chances. Kevin Stefanski is going to keep defending his decisions. The Browns are going to say all the right things about evaluating and preparing and week-to-week decisions. But the pressure is building. Mary Kay fired the first shot. The fans are revolting. Social media is in full meltdown mode. And somewhere in that facility, Shedeur Sanders is waiting for his moment. Will it come next week, next month, after another brutal loss? I don't know, but what I do know is this. The clock is ticking on Kevin Stefanski's patience. And Browns fans aren't going to accept many more performances like we just saw against the Vikings. Dillon Gabriel couldn't finish the job. The question is, will they finally give Shedeur Sanders the chance to show he can? We're diving deep into what happens next. Is Stefanski's job on the line? Will the Browns finally unleash Shedeur? And why the media pressure might force Cleveland's hand sooner than anyone thinks. This story is just getting started. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The drama is building, the tension is palpable, and the only thing that can break it is a change at quarterback. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Are you Team Shedeur or Team Dillon? Do you think the Browns are making a massive mistake by keeping Prime's son on the bench? And how many more losses before Stefanski makes the switch? If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because trust me, this quarterback controversy is just getting started and you're not going to want to miss what happens next. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Script word count estimate, approximately 3,150 words.